Good afternoon, everybody. Verl Workman here, and welcome to our Facebook Live. I want to welcome everybody and thank you for joining us. We have a tremendous gift today. Our Wednesday flash briefings have become a tradition here at Workman Success Systems, where we're highlighting some of the best agents and leaders, thought leaders, and not just in the real estate industry, but in the world. And we have an exciting guest today. As you join the Facebook Live, I want you to make sure you come on and say hello to Jim Knowlton, the Director of Coaching for Workman Success System. Jim's also runs a fantastic team in New Hampshire and does a great job of leading people and serving families. I've known Jim for more than 20 years now, Jim, it seems like. I've known Jim longer than I've known some of my children, which says a lot.
And yeah, I'm not even commenting on that one.
Yeah, it's all good though. So as you come onto the call today, I want you to just say hello, tell us where you're from, and let us know that you're on the call. Also, as we get in and we talk to Jim a little bit about kind of his background and how he's changing other people's lives, I want you to make sure that you ask questions. Jim says that there's no question he isn't afraid to answer, so bring it on. He says, give him something hard today. Matter of fact, he said, I've been watching your Facebook Lives, Verl, and no one's asking any hard questions, and I wish they'd step it up a notch and give me something that I have to stretch for.
Yeah. That's exactly what I said, Verl. You're exactly right.
Well, I may
You may have embellished just a lot there.
Some creative license in this call today. So, Jim, let's just kind of get into it. Tell us a little about Jim Knowlton. So, tell us who you are. Tell us a little bit about your family to start.
Well, I am actually a New Hampshire native. Have lived here for, unfortunately, 54 years this year. I have an amazing wife who is a technical writer, who is a licensee, who is our listing partner here at the office. I have two amazing kids, both graduated from UNH actually a month or so ago. So I have double graduates in the missing year of COVID. We live just outside the capital of Concord in a town named Hopkinton, and we are very much about going other places. So we have homes in Maine and in Florida that we love to go to. We're not hotel people. We have kind of base camp areas we like to set up and go do, and that's another thing that's been kind of taken away by the COVID this year.
I have a hard time saying Hopkinton.
He really does.
And it's not because it's not a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place. It's just a lot of syllables.
What a lot of people don't know, Verl, is that Workman Success Systems actually started to my left here in our conference room about 6 years ago after 15 or 20 years of Pinnacle Quest. We actually did the foundation. We wrote, Verl and I wrote BAM sitting in this office 5 or 6 years ago. So this is actually a very humble but interesting place for Workman Success Systems.
That's right. It's one of the original colonies.
That's right.
I remember going into your office. That's a house that's been repurposed as an office. It's really cool. And going into the living room / conference room and going on the whiteboard and sharing with you my vision. And that was really interesting. You know, Jim's an interesting guy. We've known each other for a lot of years, but I want to share with everybody what Jim means to me. Is I was in his office and I've got my daughter Brianne with me, and we'd recently left a company that we had merged with and thought that was going to be our future. And we're in there and we're writing on the board, and I'm sharing the vision, and I get done sharing the vision, and Jim just looked up at me and he goes, "Okay, I'm in." And I go, wait, you don't know I don't know how I'm going to pay you or what it's going to look like. Are we going to make any? He says, I don't care. I'm just in. This is what I want to do. I believe in you and what you're going to build. Let's do it. And he just came in completely blind. Now, Jim, you know, here we are, fast forward 6 years later, knowing what you know now, how would you have responded differently?
Oh no, it's been an amazing journey. I was just saying, Heather is my right-hand person here. She's been with me. Actually, she was in her first months when you came out here. But I was just saying to Heather this morning that on top of all the other amazing things, one of the coolest parts of this job is the coaches and the staff and the clients that I've met. I have people all around the country that I consider. I'm not a lot out here at home. I don't have a huge group of friends, but I do have a huge group of friends around the country that all came from Workman, and I know that any one of them would bend over backwards as I would for them. It's a very unique company in the fact that we are all a family, and you know, clients sometimes leave because they've gotten to a certain point, but they're always still around, willing to help or willing to go and give someone else a hand with what they've learned. And a lot of times when people are asked for people to talk to, they'll ask for somebody that's not currently, just so they can see that things work. So it's kind of amazing. I was on Facebook with one of my past clients who has taken what we gave her and really run, and she actually had just under 30 families she had helped this year, or this month, excuse me, which would have been about what she did in a year in the previous life. So it was really cool to watch her and congratulate her to continue to grow. And again, we always hope we see her back again, because there's always the next step from there.
That is so cool. So Kat Rockwell says, hi, Jim and Verl. And Mark Horner says hello from Oklahoma City. It's fun to see Bettina here, all the way from beautiful South Florida. It's a lot of cool people. You got a lot of like fans out there, Jim. They're saying, Jim, thanks for allowing Verl to be on your call. So I don't know what that means, Jim, but I appreciate you letting me be here today.
Yeah, it's really funny, because everyone who comes into Workman has to talk to me, and they may never have talked to you. So there's probably a lot of people out there that have had to do an hour with me, and sometimes that's a fun thing, and sometimes it's not such a fun thing.
I think it's always good. So Jim, you know, I love hearing a little bit about your history and where you come from. You know, I remember when I first met you, you were like all about trying to decide if you were going to build your real estate practice or just fly full time. And
Yep.
you have a passion for planes. Tell us a little bit about where that comes from.
Yeah, so I got into real estate because I was a commercial pilot, and I was buying land at the time. My wife and I were flipping a house every 2 to 3 years. That's how we kind of stayed alive. And I came into actually the office that I work in now was a very dominant office in my market. And I walked in and I was trying to buy a piece of land, and the agent, who went on to be a great friend and actually worked with me and left with me here, and then left the next place we left. She said to me as we were sitting there writing the offer, "You're an idiot." And I thought, well, this is an interesting sales technique. You're an idiot. And I said, well, why do you mean that? She goes, well, you're doing all the work and I'm getting paid. And so that was the beginning of my career in real estate. At the time, I was flying all over New England as a charter pilot. So I got into real estate to supplement my flying, because back in those days, you didn't make any money. And what happened is I got so good at real estate that I stopped flying for 10 years. And as you know, about 5 or 6 years ago, I was able to purchase another plane. And then got rid of that one a couple of years ago and have a new one now for trips to Maine. So my journey was backwards. It wasn't what I expected. And it's funny, as right up until COVID, because of the licenses I have, I was getting about a letter a month with a job offer from a regional or some other type of airline wanting me to fly for them, and offering literally 4 times what they were offering me 20, 25 years ago. So it's kind of an interesting circle, considering I didn't do it in that middle period.
I think it is interesting. So this is just a Verl curious question, but how has the becoming a great flight instructor and pilot helped you create processes and systems for success in real estate? Is there any correlation there?
Absolutely, completely. So when we used to fly trips in charter, we might do 6 or 8 legs in a day, and we did the same checklist from startup to shutdown every time. So you'd be doing the same things over and over again. What we do in coaching is we actually teach people to go from entrepreneurial to purposeful. What we're trying to get them to do is take away what they thought real estate was and reintroduce what the actual money-making, most effective, most direct forward path to success is. And the problem is people get really stuck in what they think is right. That might be a 30-unit cap, that might be a 50-unit cap, it might be a 100-unit cap, but that they're all capable of easily doubling. You know, we set goals in what I call failing forward with our new clients, and there's 2 ways I do it. I do one way, which is called honoring Verl, and I say that we're going to set our dream goal by doubling your GCI. We're going to set your fallback goal by adding 4x to your coaching investment. So you're going to get a 4x return, and then we're going to average the middle. And what's amazing is when we do that and we look at just incremental increases in their business, they're actually very similar. I just did one that was literally within $5,000 every step, and they were blown away that they never would have thought of doubling, but they were willing to commit to these incremental steps, and they came out exactly the same.
Isn't it fun to see them do that? Like change what they believe is possible?
Yeah. And the worst part is, for most of those people work a lot harder than they have to. My wife, I like to say that my wife hates me because I believe there's no job too big to delegate to someone else. And what I mean by that is what I have to do is very specific. I only want to do the thing that pays the most per hour, and I want to have other people do all the other things. And I feel really bad for people that are just working so hard and putting 150,000% in on the wrong things and not getting the outcome that they should.
So that's an interesting concept, but I've seen you driving your own tractor at your rental properties and digging holes. So how do you justify that?
Well, you're probably referring to the complete bathroom gut and rehab we did last weekend up in Maine. And, you know, there is the practical application of the system and then the life application. And the example was, everyone said to me, well, why'd you put your own kitchen in? And why'd you put your own bathroom in? And I said, well, the plan was last year to have someone else do it. But unfortunately, we couldn't get anybody else up there to do it. And the fact is I could do it and I enjoy it. I had a friend years ago that a guy by the name of Jason, and Jason was in
Sure.
coaching at the time, and the coach said he should never wash his own truck because that wasn't, good use of his time. And I always believe that if there's something you love, your job should produce enough time that you can do it even if it doesn't make sense. So
See, and
for me,
I was just hoping you
for,
would say that. It's not
yeah,
because you can't do it. It's because you love it. You like getting your fingers dirty.
I am this from the beginning. When I got into real estate, it's because I love to flip houses. I had a contract as a modular home dealer, and I literally did a course in Southern Florida that taught me about investing in single family homes. And then I met you shortly after, and then became very, very big in the REO world for many years. And what's funny is, had that not happened, I probably would have gone down the course of building because I love it. And it's really kind of interesting because a month ago, I reached out to do another property on my own, and the company called me and said, "Hey, we checked you out, and we understand that you're not only a good real estate agent, you're also good at this other stuff." And they just actually, on my desk, I have contracts to get back into that side of the business, which is going to be probably my final pillar. As we know, we believe in 4 pillars of our business, and my final pillar may have just appeared in front of me.
Yeah, that's really good. Congratulations on that.
Yeah.
One of the things that I respect most about you, Jim, is that, you've had massive success in your real estate practice. You've built, you're doing hundreds and hundreds of houses a year. You built a big REO practice. You had the big team and everything. And then, life events occurred that caused you to think differently about what was important. And you've become someone who designs a business that serves your life, where you used to be the guy whose business was your life. How's it different today?
Yeah, we had a medical thing in my family about 5 years ago that was very serious, and I took a year off. It's funny, I had been the number one agent for my franchise in 2 market centers. I'd been the number one agent in my state for a year. Shortly 5 years after that, I actually worked what I consider to be part-time. I still did well, but then the next year in my market center, I was actually the most improved and the largest team, which I thought was kind of funny that you could be both at the same time.
Part-time, a
But yeah,
part-timer.
that was my part-time back to full-time. I've always believed, Verl, although I did work a lot during my bank years, but I was very specific in doing it from 8:30 to 4:30. Now, in those days, as you know, I used to have a plow route that paid $3,000 or $4,000 every time it snowed, and I would go out in the afternoon and go do that. But I've always believed that your business is something that funds your life, not vice versa. And where I've gotten to now is I'm very specific with my pillars. I have an amazing right-hand person here at the office that takes care of most of the stuff that I'm neither good at nor want to do. And we actually just reintroduced, I've had as many as 8 buyer's agents at a time. And based on some things I run for Workman, I actually started generating so many more leads than we could do. And I kind of heard you in my head, and I said, I have a position that pays between $65,000 and $100,000 for an average agent. And I owe it to somebody to find them and give them those positions. And what I did is I hired 2 people over the last 6 months. Unfortunately, they both got caught in COVID. Only one of them was able to get licensed 2 weeks ago, and the other one is finishing up. But she's already had 6 or 8 or 10 showings. She's written 3 or 4 offers. She was able to run as an ISA. And what I'm trying to teach them is, although they do need a little more flexibility than I do, that their job is to support their life, not vice versa.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you're creating opportunities for new people to come in and change their family's outcome. I think it's such a cool thing. You can do it. You can, one of the things I've learned, and that's just hanging out with people like you, is that we can generate any level of business we want. There's no lack of business opportunity out there, is there?
No, and what's amazing is it's very small inputs that have huge outputs. And the fact is the less you do what you're supposed to, the harder the business gets, and the more you do what you're supposed to, the easier it gets. And anyone can drop in any town and be successful. You don't need to be born there. You don't need to have $1 million. I've told this story 1,000 times. Out my window, I'm on a lake here. Out my window is a restaurant. I've been in this office about 7 years. And during those 7 years, it's gone out of business 3 times. I know the last time that it went out of business, they stripped it. And the people put well over $750,000, $300,000 purchase, another 300,000 or 400,000 in new kitchens, new everything. And they're doing that with just huge overhead. They've got employees, they've got everything. My cost to become a realtor 20 years ago was $1,000 probably, and I've probably made several $1 million over the years. And I watched this happen year after year, and just kind of in awe of what a great business we have, and how hard it is for people to see what an amazing return they get on their investment.
Yeah, with so many people out of work right now, I I was on a call earlier today and we were talking about recruiting and what a great opportunity is right now to find really talented people whose jobs may never come back. This COVID thing has thrown the country for a loop. And there's some jobs that are going to come back and there's others that never will. There's so many businesses failing and there are amazing people out there. So I find two kinds of people. I find the kind of people who are amazing and ready to get back to work and want to get to a six-figure income again. And then I find the other people who are just applying for the jobs that we're advertising for because they have to justify it to unemployment. And they're making so much money by being unemployed that they really don't want to get hired. So the worst thing they could do is get a job offer because they're making so much on, on all the stimulus and stuff that's out there. I'm looking for the hungry people.
Well, remember that the median income across most of the country is around $35,000 to $65,000, and I think that 65 is high. If you look at a 24-unit buyer's agent across our system, it should be between $65,000 and $75,000.
Right.
To me, 24 units. I mean, we can do 24 units in a month sometimes. So doing two transactions a month for a year is not hard. So we should be able to offer incredible opportunity to many different people, some that want amazing results and some that want, what we consider to be acceptable for the economic model that we run within the team. That, that's 24 is fine with us too.
All right. So just in this general conversation, I'm learning about all your jobs. So you have the real estate flipping and investment business. You have the real estate practice where you have a team that you're running.
Yep.
And do you do any property management?
Oh, well, only for our own stuff. We have about 10 rentals that are our own. It's our retirement program.
I love that. And you're doing the work.
Well,
so
I have
your own construction, remodeling your own bathrooms.
Yeah, I remodel.
And then the job that I'm most familiar with is the full-time job you have with Workman Success Systems.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Verl, I'm here.
As our director of coaching. So I wanted you to just share kind of what you believe your mission is with Workman. Like I can't afford you. And so you're here because you love it. And you make a little bit of money and have some good relationships, but really the passion you have for our people, you can't teach it. It comes from a different place. It comes from an internal drive that like, it's almost like your mission in life to serve people and to help them succeed. Where does that come from for you? Is that a father thing? I mean, where did that come from?
No. Yeah. What's funny is I think if you ask people who know me in my work environment, they probably wouldn't see that in me. But I think if you ask people that know me in my coaching environment, they would see it very much. You met a very good friend of mine named Mary Beth Costitis, who came to coach training. And after she was blown away by us, she grabbed me at one of the breaks and she was a little upset with me. And she said, "I don't know why you don't show up like this at home." And I had to really think about that. And I think what it is the environment that you created is one that within I found something different. For me, real estate is very transactional. I am not a relationship real estate agent. There's other people in my company that do that. I'm just kind of the guy that makes things happen. But here I feel a very high need to make sure we meet your standards. And I think my job is to take your vision and bring it down to people that are incredibly well trained and incredibly experienced, and then bring them the tools they need from our coaches' standpoint to take people in very different places and succeed. So for me, it's really about honoring what you've built to make sure that we're delivering. I say to people all the time, Verl doesn't care about what you pay. He cares about that we provide you with the opportunity to get where you want to go. We can't make you do it, but we have to deliver the fact that you could. And I think that's really where it comes to with me, is just that I make sure that through my interview process of the new client coming in and then matching that with a coach and then giving the coach the information that I've dug out from the new client welcome call that we record and share, I want them to know what I think the big rocks are probably for the first year. So that side of me very much comes out because of the company, not because of me, honestly.
So I'm going to let you believe that story that you're telling, but I know that deep down it's you.
Yeah, Sarah's probably at home saying the same thing, that's a gym limiting belief. So
right. Yeah, I like to ask people if they're committed to that belief or would they.
It's funny. I had that one yesterday on a call. I should have used it and I went a different direction. So I love that one too.
All right. So Jim, let's just I don't know why, But for me, I love coaching. I mean, I love it seems like the messier the business and the bigger a challenge it is for me. I almost like it gets me up earlier because I think about them. I obsess over how do we get them to think differently and how do we get them to change their plan. I mean, I love it. I love the game. It's like it's not a money thing for me. It's like I love the game of helping people. I would like to know from you just what are some of your proudest moments as a coach where you've seen people really change or transform what they believe is possible, and be specific. Let's talk about some people.
Yeah, so what's interesting is I feel the same way, but I have a little bit shorter fuse, I think, sometimes than you do. And I often have to channel you, but I literally have had so many good involvements. I'm very fortunate that I have 10 clients now. Of those 10 clients, probably 8 of them have been with me at least 3 years. So I had people that got in and committed and stayed very much in the beginning. Some of my biggest victories are that I believe all of my teams are at least even with last year, as well as most of them are ahead. We have some people that, even though they were shut down for 3 months or more, that are looking at doubling this year. I've told you this story offline. Mike Koch is one of my clients. He's also a senior coach at Workman. He's an amazing business person. And he texted me 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago during the kitchen rebuild up in Maine. And he said, I just wanted to tell you, we have 55 transactions closing this month. And that was the exact number of closings we did the first year we worked with you. And that was huge. And I have a gentleman out of White Plains, Jeremy, who was one of the most restricted COVID states. His goal for this year, he literally beat his goal for last week. And he's basically on track right now to try to double, which was not his plan. And he is spending the summer at home with his kids. And
Oh,
it's
great.
just kind of amazing. He was in New Hampshire last weekend. He was up here with me. He's coming back next weekend. And I said, listen, Jeremy, the one thing you got to do is you got to honor that belief that this is one time where your kids don't have camp, they don't have other things, and you got to make sure you're making the right decision. But all of my people do different things. It's the thing I find most interesting is they all go on the same journey. It's some of them it takes 2 years, some of them it takes 3 years, but they all go on the same journey. We tend to be great salespeople. We tend to be great at what we do, but we're not exactly sure how we do it, or that someday somebody's going to figure out that we don't know how we do it, and that makes it very difficult for us to teach others.
Yeah, you can't duplicate it when you don't create systems around it.
Yep.
So that's a great story. Does Jeremy have an assistant yet?
No.
It's fun that he can have tremendous growth and a great lifestyle and choose to have the kind of business he wants. And I don't care if he ever builds a team or if he ever adds people. I just care that he designs the life that he wants and his business serves it.
I had a lady yesterday on a welcome call, and the word team comes up quite a bit with us. And she said, Jim, is it okay if I'm not a team? And I said, it is completely okay with us to be whatever you want, but here's what's going to happen. When you start doing the right things every day for a small amount of time, you're going to start to build. And when you build, you're going to start to build opportunity. And pretty soon you're going to focus on something and you're going to need some help. And you're going to say, oh, if I can do this right, it's a value add. It's not a takeaway. It's not pain. It's just I've built something that has another piece to it now. And she said, well, that makes sense. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, right. So let's talk about failure. So it's fun to talk about successes and people doing as many in a month as they did in a year when they started. And we have a lot of those. But when you see people that don't succeed, let's talk about some of the reasons or some of the things that keep them from having success. What do you see as the director of coaching? Because, people go through a process. The coach gets frustrated because they're not making progress. You're the guy they reach out to and say, help me solve this problem. I'm not getting through. Why do people fail? Why do they not grow?
Yeah, so I got a great call from one of our coaches on Monday right before I talked to you, and he called to say, I'm working with a new client. It's only 3 or 4 months, or no, it's been a year. And he said, I'm really concerned because last year he had a pretty good year, and this year he's off. And I said, well, let's talk about the core programs. Let's talk about, top 50. Let's talk about his ABC board. Let's talk about his daily success habits. Jimmy's killing it. He's getting double what he should on all of those things. I said, okay, well, then I already know what the problem is. I said, what we're doing is we're doing volume to say we checked the box, not quality to say we did the work. And I said, what I want you to do is I want you to get his lead tracker, and I want you to cross-check notes, and I want you to see that the activities. And I said, if we find those are real, I want him to make a call so that you can hear the dialogues he's using. Because what we're doing is we're saying, if I call 50 people, it's good. If I call 100 people, it's better. And it's not. It's better to have one meaningful contact following a good script, following a top 50 dialogue of Ford, than it is to call 50 people you know aren't going to answer just so you can check the points out. So for me, the two classes are people that are just off in one of the areas, meaning they're doing it for getting it done, not for content, or they just choose to not. There's a big group of people that would rather not try and not fail than try and fail.
They want to stay where they are and say they tried rather than actually doing anything different.
I'd say it's just the opposite. They'd like to stay where they are and say, it's okay, I didn't really try and it didn't work, so it's okay. Where if they really put 110% into it, they have to say, I really tried hard and I didn't do it.
Yeah, that's true. Brooke Stein says, go Jim.
Well, that's funny because usually whenever I'm talking to you, she's sending me annoying texts to try to get me to mess up. So she has not done that yet. So we're doing well.
Yeah, it's because you haven't checked your phone. I'm sure that you've got several. All right. So you say people don't fail because they don't want to do the work or they're checking boxes and they're not really actually doing the actual tasks. Any other reasons?
Well, I think there's tons of limiting beliefs in this business. I think that there's a whole bunch of stories people tell themselves to make them feel good about what they're doing. But most importantly, there's a combination of not knowing what to do. I can't tell you how many people, part of my welcome call is I say, tell me what you do well and tell me what you struggle with. And I can't tell you how many people say, I don't know what to do next. I don't know what it is I should be doing. I don't know what I should be doing during the day. And this is this whole process of bringing your entrepreneurial skills that you brought from hot tub sales or you brought from being a commercial pilot to real estate, and that gets you a certain place, but that place may be well below where you want to be. And what we need to do is we need to take the proven skills that you've learned over the last 20 years, and then we get to shortcut the failures that other people had to have to get here. So,
Right.
so what I believe is most people want to do the right thing. Most people work hard at what they do, but they're just very effective at not doing the right things.
Interesting. When you talk about limiting beliefs or conversations they're having with themselves, be more specific.
It's always been amazing to me. I'm kind of a proud person. I'm glad what I did in real estate, it exceeded anything I ever thought I would do. And if you ask me what I do well, I would give you a list of 20 things. I'm not sure all of them are real, but in my mind they are. And it kind of amazes me when I ask somebody that does what I do or bigger even what they do well and they can't tell me. And their story is, I'm just lucky. I know the right people, that kind of stuff. And a lot of stories is I can't do it because I wasn't the Smiths or I haven't been here my whole life. I was just talking to a new welcome and she said, I've only been here 3 or 4 years. I don't know 50 people. And I rattled off, where you find them. And she goes, oh no, you're right. I'm closer to 100. So the stories are ways to say that I don't know the exact person. I mean, I tell people all the time, I would go work at Bernie and Julie's. I would go work out with Anthony. I would go work up at Mike's because I know I could go there very quickly, just go through town and meet some people, get a top 50. And I would have such amazing opportunities from those people out with Christy that I could be making a great living anywhere in the country because I know what a top 50 is. I know how to take advantage of a team and be a good team player. So I just believe it's that we don't do a great job in real estate of teaching people the right jobs. And it's really funny. I've had 2 people going through licensing in the last 6 months. And what I told both of them is when they finished their licensing and they got their license, forget everything we told you to this point and now do it the Workman way. Because what we teach people has nothing to do with what they're going to do for a job.
Oh, I've had 2 calls today just about CE credits for team training. And that when we've gone through the process of doing team certifications, that the most boards of realtors and even national, they don't want you to teach people how to be successful. They want you to teach you how to not get sued. And there's this misconception that by being excellent in sales, by being an excellent realtor, and by building a great business, you're somehow doing it at the expense of the consumer. And I believe that when you're really great at the business and you really create amazing client experiences and you're better at the marketplace because you do volume, the client is better served as a result of that. Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, specialization is the way the world is doing everything else, but in our industry, being a generalist is supposed to be better. I will guarantee you that Lee Tessier and Christy Buck and Mike Koch and David Weisman's team does a 10 times better job than 95%. I'm not going to say that there's not 5% of the people out there doing an amazing job and just really breaking the rules. But when you have the right people in the right seats and they truly excel at that part of the job that they love, I do not like to do paperwork. I'm an idea guy. I'm a get it done guy. If I don't have a Heather, the world falls apart. And
Right.
I think that's where that whole system works so well.
Yeah, Ron Howard says to tell you hello. And real quick, Jim, talk about COVID. So you said you've had all these teams that are doing as good or better than like they did by last year at this time. What is the difference? Mark said there's a lot of agents that have furloughed themselves. They put themselves on, they're furloughed. That's got to be a COVID response. I've got people. I had a lady sign up for coaching the other day. Maybe this is the one that you talked about. She came into coaching and I said, how's COVID affected your business? And she said, well, I'm almost over it. I'm like, what? She's, well, I have it. And she's like, and I'm like getting in, I'm building my team. I'm not going to let it be what stops me. And I'm signing up and getting a coach. And I'm like, you have COVID. I got people that don't even have it that are not leaning into their businesses. How do you teach that mentality? Where does that come from?
It was really funny because I remember the call that you and I had. I don't say a lot, but when I do, well, I do say a lot. But when I talk to you, I actually tell you exactly what I want to happen, and I'm very fortunate you listen a lot of times. But I called during the first week of the shutdown, and I said, listen, there's only a couple of things we can do, and one of them is we have to tell everybody what we know in a way we've never told them before. We have all this stuff on shelves. We have all this stuff that we know, and we've just got to get in front of them. We're going to have our coaches start doing group coaching, and we're going to have you start doing webinars, and we're going to just give people what they need. And what happened there that was really cool is we said, we're not going to stop, we're going to accelerate. And I found that most of my teams and most of our coaches' teams took the first week or two maybe, and they just went, life is over, everything I've built is dead, and I just got to figure out what I'm going to do next. And then 90% of them turned around and said, well, hold on a second, I can still send cards. I can still send emails. I can still check on my people. At Workman, we went into a huge push to just reach out to people and say, are you okay?
Yeah.
And what we did is we started a whole movement within our group to say, just reach out to your people and say, is there anything I can do to help? Well, that started them in thinking, well, if I can do that, there must be other things. So, one of my great teams, Matt in Michigan, Matt and Diana started sending out lemonade packages with a card that said, when life gives you lemon, bake lemonade. And then they were sending out flowers. And what we did is we started to find new ways to let our people know we cared about them. And, you look at actually Mike, who was in Michigan, Wisconsin. Sorry, I had to do that. Mike is in Wisconsin, and, they were heavily shut down. Jeremy was in New York, in White Plains, actually in the epicenter of COVID. And what they did is they just decided to double down. So my answer is, we had a lot of people that got freaked out in the first week or so. And then we had a lot of people that just ticked back those things they could do. The great example is Mark did an amazing presentation on virtual open houses. We should have been doing virtual open houses before. We weren't. Now we have to do both because we've proven that both works.
It's really interesting. We've got clients all over the country, and you mentioned New York and some of the places that, I don't believe that virtual open houses are going to go away. I think that's going to be a new staple, that we're going to do live open houses. We're going to run them virtually. We get all this online content. But we had people in Texas that were like, we're really not shut down. We're continuing to work. Everything's okay. We're still doing open houses. Well, guess where they are today? They're shut down.
The hospital?
They're in the hospital, right? They're shut. Oh, Christy Buck's son found out he had COVID yesterday. I mean, she's on home arrest today. And so when I talked to her last night, she was telling me, hey, Verl, we're doing virtual open house. We're doing all the things we were doing 90 days ago in New York are now having to happen in Texas. But because she learned how to do it 90 days ago, she turned the switch on, and her team is absolutely killing it. I'm really proud of the way that Samantha and all of her sales partners have leaned in to the COVID situation. We've got some agents that are at risk, and the other agents are showing their properties. We got others that have situations that make it so they can't go out, and everybody's kind of helping each other. And it's really interesting because they're ahead this year of where they were last year in the midst of a pandemic. Well, how does that happen?
Well, I'm thinking of the people that I work with as you're saying these things, and we look at Matt, who's on pace to do what he did last year. He lost a team member. They were heavily shut down. Jeremy's ahead. Mike's ahead. Robbie's ahead. Just everyone is doing well. And I think what it took was someone to tell them it was okay. And one of the things that I found my job is to say, okay, I hear what you're saying, but what we have to do is we have to find another way. I hear and know that you believe that, but that's not the only truth. There's another way we can do it. So if I gave us credit as a company, what I would say is the Friday Coach training calls and all of the seminars we did said, yes, we used to do it this way, and I know that makes you happy, but now there's a new way to do it. And in a few months, that'll make you happy. So let's just go give it a try.
So Jim, when are we going to get back to normal? When are things going to normalize for us? And what does
Yeah,
that
it's
look
funny.
like?
I was talking to Nate Martinez the other day, one of our amazing senior coaches, and I said to him, "Tell me about your business." And he said, "Well, business is okay." He goes, "But the problem is no one wants to go to work anymore." He goes, "I'm not sure it'll ever go back to normal." And that's exactly what I agree with. I would not want to be a commercial landlord right now, because we knew back from when you and I went to the CEO exchange 3 or 4 years ago, they were talking about real estate offices getting smaller. And I think what we're seeing now is that people have learned how to work remotely. I still believe that there is a place for the group, and I think we do need to get together. But it has converted me from the belief that the only way is do it is face to face. We can do an effective team huddle. We can do an effective sales meeting. We could do an effective actual seminar or something outside. But the person to person is probably better. But I think that until we have a virus, until we have a vaccine and some type of effective treatment, this is normal. And whether that's a year or what it is, and then after that, I mean, I just think that this it looks something like this.
It is kind of interesting. Today I was looking at the graphics. Our marketing team was showing me our virtual booth for the Remax convention coming up in February of next year. It's going to be virtual, or no, it's the broker owner convention that's this fall in August is 100% virtual. And so they're showing me my booth, what it looks like, the graphics, and it's really cool. Like innovation has happened. I think one of the advantages, or one of the cool things that's happened with this COVID, is that it's forced us to think about new ways to do business. And while it may not be our preferred method, we're learning how to adapt and grow. And I think it says a lot about our community, not just real estate agents, but our coaching community and our marketing and the things that we do, the way we think. I think the American spirit is figure it out. We're very entrepreneurial, and I love that entrepreneurial spirit that happens when adversity occurs. I hate adversity when I'm going through it, but when I
Yeah.
look back at it, I go, look at all the stuff that was created as a result.
Look at how good I did with that.
I'd look at how good all my people did with that. And I'm just here my name's on the door, but I'm telling you what, I don't believe I have any success without the amazing team that's around me.
One of my clients, Denise, we were doing our group call. We are still doing our group call every other week. I know a lot of people have fallen back to once a month, but I've got a pretty vocal group, and they were like, "Let's keep going." And I said, as long as we were above 80%, I would keep doing it. But what we were asking, is this better or worse? Like in one of the early calls, and we had a couple of people that said it was worse, and Denise got on and she said, "Hey, you know what I think?" She goes, I'm here in Las Vegas, and she goes, "We're the ones that deal with the non-traditional, the iBuyers and all this other stuff." And she said, "What this forced us to do," and if I'm giving the wrong person credit, I'm sorry, but what she said is, this forced us to learn to do what they were doing, and now we can do both. So I think what it did that was very amazing is more of my coaching clients, who I've had for years, said the word Matterport camera in the first 2 weeks of COVID than they had said it in the last 3 years. I did not know that I had the market cornered on Matterport cameras until I started talking about virtual open houses. And it just, we had it in the closet, but we just didn't bother to use it.
Isn't that funny? I think a lot of people have purchased or invested in technology that they're using now. I mean, think about your all your video cameras and all the things that you've purchased to do that we're now doing on live cast webinars and things like this today that we would have used in the past. So it is true that there's been tremendous innovation. Jim, as we wrap this up today, I'd like to ask you if there were one or two things that you would do or advise an agent that is trying to grow or is struggling right now. Give me some advice. Give me some real meat, something they can do that is tangible, that they can leave this Facebook Live with. It will make a difference in their life or in their business. And you can pick any topic.
Yeah, so I always go to the same place, Verl. 20 years ago or so, I met you. My broker owner bought me my first 6 months or first year of group coaching. And it was actually, I can tell you, it was 17 or 19 years ago, because we were building the house we're in now. And, one of the first things you gave us is the equivalent of what the new client assessment is today for our system. And I remember sitting on my porch and really going through that new client assessment and deciding what I wanted my business to look like. And my family went out and went shopping, and I just sat there and I said, what does it look like? And I really poured over that for 3 or 4 hours. And that probably was the document I ran with, for the next 10 years. And what it was is we stayed together for 2 or 3 years, and then I went off and did my thing, and then I came back a few years later, and then I went off and did my thing, and then I came back a few years later. And each time, what I think I did is I rebuilt my vision of where I want to go. We've since at Workman, we still have our business plan, but we've added our strategic plan as a breakout document, and we actually lead with the strategic plan now. And the reason being is it gives us limited clarity into 1, 3, and 6 months, and then 1, 3, and 5 years of cross-offable goals. So the first thing that I would do is I would be very intentional about my direction, where I wanted to go and what successes are when I'm winning. We don't do a great job of saying, hey, look at all I've done. I mean, if you'd said to me 6 years ago, I'm going to have these amazing clients and I'm going to be able to help them do things, sometimes that even I haven't done, it's pretty cool to do that. And if you had told me I could do it, I probably, I think back to the days of Cleve and I and you talking and Cleve quitting every week and me just being too quiet to quit about it. The second thing that I would do is I would find great people to be a part of. I think, again, what I said at the beginning is Brooke and Ron and all of the other great coaches that I've been able to meet, all of the people at Workman, all of my clients that have challenged me to see things differently. We rise to the level of those people around us. So if you're at work in the water cooler with the people doing 10 transactions a year, you're probably going to do 10 transactions a year. If you're around the people that are doing 50 and 100, you're probably going to see a different reality and you're going to do that. And then lastly, as obvious as it seems, I believe that there is something very different when I look at your business, when you look at my business. And I just believe that getting outside help, I have to every 2 years, even though I'm a flight instructor, even though I'm a commercial multi-engine instrument rated pilot, I have to go back every 2 years and prove to someone I can still fly. And what that is quick story. I went from a multi-engine plane to a single engine plane, and I was having a really hard time landing it. And I'm a very good pilot, and I could not figure out. And I brought it in for service at a new place, and I landed, and the guy made fun of me on the radio. And I came in, and he goes, "I know exactly what you're doing." And I talked to him, and I came back to pick the plane up, and I said, "I got to go." And he says, "No, I'm going with you." He says, "We're going flying right now." And I said, "Okay." And we went up, and we probably spent 15 minutes together. And from the time I finished that instruction for the 15 minutes, I land that plane like I've got thousands of hours in it. And it's because I needed someone to show me the right things to do at the right time. And now I know them, and I just reproduce them with the experience that says winds changing, speeds changing. That's what I know, but I didn't know the baseline to start with. So we are the baseline. Our people are the baseline. The Workman way is the baseline.
I love that. And I don't think there's a better analogy of somebody seeing your approach from a different perspective. When you're looking at yourself coming in, you see this perspective. Somebody on the runway watching you coming in is like, I know what he's doing, and he's not doing this or not doing that.
I literally landed and I was rolling out at high speed, and he said to me, "Jim, are you stopping here?"
That's fun to have people that care about you enough to call you out on your bull crap, isn't it?
Well, he didn't even know me yet. That's the kind of friend he's become, though. He's definitely in my corner. He said to me, "This fall, we're going to come up and do this again because I can make you do it in like 600 feet." And I said, "I'll come back for that. That's fine."
Yeah, I love that. Tammy Slay says you're very wise. Ron Howard says, because of COVID, I've forced myself to learn how to operate and run my team virtually. And with a new baby coming on the way, I look forward to spending 4 months and running my team virtually with the new baby. And I think that's like, what a blessing. What a blessing that is.
Yeah, every person at Workman has both, I believe, and I'm not going to put words in any of their mouths, but we both have gained and have learned a tremendous amount from each other. And there's a couple people over the years that have just changed so much as part of being part of this company that I'm really proud of the fact that I was a part of it too, because I have watched people change their lives in the way they do their business, the way they interact with their families, and what they're taking home. That is just pretty powerful.
Well, Jim, I appreciate all you do, not just for me personally, but for the Workman family. You're an incredible asset. And every day I get up, I look forward to you taking more and more of the clients off of my lap and continuing to solve their problems, because I just think you're smarter than I am. And I love listening to you. So thank you for being part of our Facebook Live today. I appreciate all that you do.
I love it. Thank you. And I'm welcome to come back anytime if you want me.
We'll definitely have you back, everybody. Make sure you share this Facebook Live. Let Jim know you appreciate his thoughts and comments. Your daughter is on the call. She says you're the wisest. So I'm glad that you at least have one raving fan in the group. And with that, we'll wrap it up. I'll see you, everybody. Thanks for being here, Jim.
Bye, guys.